do something to help.
No. She'll be fine. Don't fuss over her.
A little beauty shop in Louisiana. 6 women, a few Southern stories. But Steel Magnolias was never just a warm movie. It is part of America's memory. And 37 years later, when you look back at that cast, what shows up is not just memory, but some pretty chilling truths. The strongest mother in the movie turned out to carry a childhood marked by abuse. The most fragile young woman ended up in handcuffs during protests. The youngest girl shot straight to the top of Hollywood, then lived under the glare of fame and non-stop chasing. The quietest man in the film made it to the end of his life with ALS, and some familiar faces left way too soon, and only after they were gone did people learn how to love them. Let us look at what happened to the actors we once loved in Steel Magnolias. Number 1. Sally Field Malin Eatenton. Sally Field was born in 1946. When Steel Magnolias came out in 1989, she was 43. This year, she is 80. To me, Sally was never the kind of star who had to do too much to make people remember her. She belongs to that old Hollywood group of actors, where the second she steps into the frame, everything naturally settles down. In Steel Magnolias, she plays Malin Eatenton, a mother who seems hard as steel, but is really carrying a whole storm inside. After that movie, Sally Field did not get locked inside some beautiful late 80s memory. She kept going the way real stars keep winning over audiences and building a career. But the thing that changed the way a lot of people saw Sally Field was not on screen. It was in her memoir, In Pieces. In it, she talked about an abusive childhood and sexual abuse, a painful stretch of life she kept private for years. That was not some cheap scandal meant to pull people in. It was a late truth, and a heavy one. Once people knew that, I think a lot of them looked back at Sally, and especially at Malin, in a different way. Behind that calm surface was a woman who had already lived through real pain. Now Sally Field is still a deeply respected name, an artist who carries both dignity and the weight of a golden era. And now let us move to the second name, and honestly, you might raise an eyebrow when you hear what happened with her. Number 2. Daryl Hannah, Annelle Dupuy Desoto. Now we get to the second name. Daryl Hannah was born in 1960. When Steel Magnolias came out in 1989, she was 29. This year, she is 66. On screen, Annelle Dupuy Desoto looks like the kind of girl who would apologize to the whole room just for walking in a little too softly. Daryl Hannah created that fragile look so well that if you only watch this movie, a lot of people would probably assume that in real life, she must be the quiet kind of star who avoids trouble. The truth is almost the exact opposite. After her bright years in film, Daryl did not cling to what Hollywood usually likes in a beautiful actress. She turned hard in a different direction, one with more wind, more noise, and a whole lot more bruises. She threw herself into environmental activism, showed up in protests, sat in, got arrested. She was also one of the women who publicly talked about being harassed by Harvey Weinstein, and she kept speaking up whenever she felt women were being twisted or misrepresented on screen. This is not the kind of person who lives to make everybody comfortable, and maybe that is exactly why she never became forgettable. Her personal life did not follow the usual path either. Daryl married Neil Young in 2018, and more recently she directed Coastal, the documentary following his tour. Looking back now, it is kind of striking. The woman who looked light as mist in Steel Magnolias ended up living like a rock with edges. And after a life path that dusty and rough, the next name on this list feels almost like a melody America has been humming for decades. Number 3. Dolly Parton, Truvy Jones. Honestly, there are some names in American culture that stop feeling like just a person and start feeling like a whole emotion. Dolly Parton is one of those names. Dolly Parton was born in 1946. When Steel Magnolias came out in 1989, she was 43. This year, she is 80. The second she shows up, the whole atmosphere changes. In Steel Magnolias, she plays Truvy Jones, the soul of the beauty shop. What I admire about Dolly is that after that movie, she did not just hold on to her spotlight. She did something much harder. Some stars get famous and then slowly fade into nostalgia. Dolly did the opposite. She stepped beyond the frame of being a country singer or a beloved movie face and became a real American icon. Her music went far. Her name went even farther. Then came Imagination Library, the free book program for children, and people started to realize this was not just a celebrity doing charity to look good. This was a woman who wanted to leave something genuinely kind behind in the world. That is a level not everybody with money or fame can reach. But then life brought her a sad turn. In 2025, Carl Dean, her partner of almost 60 years, passed away. A quiet, sad note in the life of a woman this talented and decent. But for now, let us set that aside and move to another woman on today's list. Number 4. Shirley MacLaine, Ouiser Boudreaux. Shirley MacLaine does not walk into a scene. She cuts right through it. That is the kind of old Hollywood presence that is incredibly rare, the kind where a woman only has to lift her eyes a little and the whole room has to adjust itself. Shirley was born in 1934. When Steel Magnolias came out in 1989, she was 55. This year, she is 92. In the movie, she is Ouiser Boudreaux, sour sharp, difficult, and funny in the way only someone who has really lived can be funny. After Steel Magnolias, Shirley did not grow older in the sweet, well-behaved way the public likes to assign to legends. She kept working, kept writing books, kept taking new projects from the photo memoir, The Wall of Life in 2024, to films announced in 2025 and 2026. But even that is still not the whole Shirley MacLaine story. What made her a real-life character is the fact that she lived openly with beliefs about reincarnation, UFOs, and all kinds of mystical stuff that kept people talking for decades. And the funny thing is, Shirley never seemed especially concerned with whether other people believed it or not. She believed it, and that was enough. I have to say, that is a very old Hollywood kind of backbone. Strange maybe, but honestly, pretty impressive, right? Of course, her personal life was never exactly smooth either. Her daughter, Sachi Parker, released a memoir about childhood and a mother-daughter relationship full of conflict, and Shirley pushed back, saying the book was basically fiction. She is not the kind of legend you admire from far away just because she looks nice there. She is the kind of legend who still makes people raise an eyebrow. And after a woman carrying that full old Hollywood energy, this list is about to step straight into the spotlight of the superstar who helped send that movie flying. Number 5. Julia Roberts, Shelby, Eatenton, Latcherie. Julia Roberts was born in 1967. When Steel Magnolias came out in 1989, she was only 22. This year, she is 59. And honestly, looking back at that movie now, what fascinates me most is that in a cast full of actors whose names were already established, there was still this young woman who stepped into the frame with a kind of light you just could not ignore. As Shelby Eatenton Latcherie, she was radiant, stubborn, and fragile all at once. And then, after this movie, things pretty much unfolded the way movie legends usually begin. Julia did not climb one small step at a time. She jumped. From a promising young face, she shot straight into the superstar class and stayed there longer than almost anyone else from her generation. There was a stretch in Hollywood where Julia Roberts was everywhere. Movie posters, magazine covers, red carpets, interviews, side stories, all of it. She was not just famous. She became an actual definition of what a movie star was. Of course, that level of spotlight never comes with peace and quiet. Julia's personal life got chased hard by tabloids, especially the early 2000s relationship drama around Danny Moder, and that aloe vera shirt people still remember all these years later. But what matters is that noise did not break her. It just became part of the price she paid for being that famous. Now Julia Roberts has that Hollywood royalty kind of presence, more private, more expensive, almost like she does not even need to say much, and people still look up. But after the brightest spotlight on this list, we are about to meet a man who was never that loud, and because of that, his real story feels much darker. Number 6. Dylan McDermott, Jackson Latcherie. Dylan McDermott was born in 1961. When Steel Magnolias came out in 1989, he was 28. This year, he is 65. In a movie full of women with huge presence, Dylan shows up in a very different way. Not loud, not grabbing the frame, not trying to show off. As Jackson Latcherie, he brings exactly that classic masculinity late 80s American movies used to do so well. Clean-cut, decent there when it matters, and steady enough for someone else to lean on. After that movie, Dylan did not run straight into movie star glory the way Julia Roberts did. He took a different road, quieter, but a whole lot steadier. Television is where Dylan really built his name. From The Practice to American Horror Story, then Law and Order and FBI Most Wanted. He became the kind of actor American audiences kept running into over the years and recognized right away every time. But if it were only about the work, Dylan McDermott would not carry the shadow he has now. What makes his life story sound almost shocking is the case involving his mother, Diane McDermott. Her death was once treated like an accident, then later identified as a murder. That is not Hollywood scandal stuff. That is darkness from the roots of family itself, and honestly, it feels heavier than that. Now Dylan is still a steady, grounded television face, someone who does not need noise to stay standing. But after a man carrying that kind of quiet darkness, this list is about to turn into an even more surprising direction, where Hollywood gets left behind in a way very few people would have guessed. Take a second to like the video and subscribe before we keep going. Number 7. Janine Turner, Nancy Beth Marmillion. Not everybody leaves Hollywood because the door slams shut in their face. Some people walk out on their own. Janine Turner is that type. She was born in 1962. When Steel Magnolias came out in 1989, she was 27. This year, she is 64. In the movie, Janine plays Nancy Beth Marmillion, a small piece in that southern town picture. Janine absolutely could have gone much further, but she chose not to. After Steel Magnolias, she got more footing. With northern exposure, became recognizable, became loved by audiences, and had every sign that she could have stayed in that machine for many more years. Janine did not disappear because she ran out of road. She changed direction while the road was still open. She has said more than once that she deliberately stepped back from Hollywood to raise her daughter as a single mother. Then, instead of disappearing into the background, Janine stepped onto a different stage: politics, civic life, public speaking, and a conservative tone that tends to make people either agree with her or get irritated, but almost never feel neutral. Right now, she is tied to constituting America, and has pretty much become a very different person from the young woman in Steel Magnolias. And now, we are moving on to another name on today's list. Number 8. Sam Shepard Spud Jones. Sam Shepard was born in 1943. When Steel Magnolias came out in 1989, he was 46. If he were still alive this year, he would be 83. But sadly, Sam passed away back in 2017 at age 73. In the movie, he plays Spud Jones, the quiet husband, calm, steady present, like a wooden post planted firmly in the middle of a world full of voices, tears, and very strong personalities. But if you only remember Sam Shepard as an actor in Steel Magnolias, that is still leaving out a whole lot. He was a major name in American theater, a Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright, an artist people in the business looked at with real respect. Sam always had this feeling that he did not fully belong to Hollywood, but to some other America drier, lonelier, more real. That is also why his life story never felt completely bright. The drunk driving incidents, the stormy relationship with Jessica Lange, and that brooding shadow that followed him for years all made Sam feel more like a sad legend than a polished star. In his final years, he battled ALS, then passed away quietly, leaving behind a huge legacy and a very specific kind of absence. To me, Sam Shepard is the kind of artist who feels heavier the more you think about him. If you remember him too, leave a line for Sam in the comments, so he keeps living in our memory. Number 9. Tom Skerritt, drum Eatenton. After a long heavy shadow like Sam Shepard, Tom steps into this list as something completely different, steady, warm and solid like a front porch. Tom Skerritt was born in 1933. When Steel Magnolias came out in 1989, he was 56. This year, he is 93. As drum Eatenton, he does not need to do anything big. He just needs to be there. That is the kind of man old American films used to have. A lot of a father, a husband, the backbone, not saying much, but enough to make the whole family feel safe. What makes Tom Skerritt special is that he never needed one big breakout moment to be remembered. He built his career on durability. From MASH to Alien Top Gun. Then, A River Runs Through It, he quietly moved through decades of American film as a face audiences instantly recognize. Same with television. Picket Fences brought him a Primetime Emmy for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Drama Series, and that feels exactly right for someone who goes the long road, no noise, no showing off, but always reliable. Honestly, in Hollywood today, that kind of career is rarer than people think. And maybe that is why Tom Skerritt has aged better than a lot of other stars. Not better in terms of looks. Better in the sense that he is still there, still part of America's memory, still carrying that quiet presence of someone who has lived long enough that he does not need to prove anything anymore. He has been working since 1962 up to now, and just that alone already says a lot. Honestly, just knowing he is still healthy and doing well is enough to make me happy. Number 10. Olympia Dukakis, Clairee Belcher. Clairee Belcher is the kind of woman who only has to lift her glass, tilt her head a little, and you know, she has lived through just about everything. Olympia Dukakis plays those roles with a kind of life experience you cannot fake. She was born in 1931. When Steel Magnolias came out in 1989, she was 58. Olympia passed away in 2021 at the age of 89. In the film, she is Clairee, charming, sharp, elegant, and seasoned enough to make anyone fall under her spell. After Steel Magnolias, Olympia was still remembered as one of the true great character actresses of American screen. Film theater teaching wherever she went, she carried that same quality, serious, grounded, and never cheapening herself just to grab attention. That kind of credibility does not come from camera flashes. It comes from a whole lifetime in the craft. What I respect even more is that Olympia did not just leave behind an acting legacy. She was also known as a very steady ally to the LGBTQ+ community, someone willing to stand up for people with a kind of quiet, dignified kindness. When she passed, there was sadness, sure, but the bigger feeling was respect. Number 11. Anne Wedgeworth. Aunt Fern Hollywood has an old habit I have never really felt comfortable with. It knows how to celebrate the right people at the right time, but it does not always treat truly talented and dedicated actors fairly. Anne Wedgeworth is one of those cases. She was born in 1934. When Steel Magnolias came out in 1989, she was 55. Anne passed away in 2017 at the age of 83. In the film, she plays Aunt Fern, not a big role, not the kind of character written to take over the spotlight. The thing is, Anne Wedgeworth was never just some unknown supporting face like people might assume. She had a very strong theater background and even won a Tony, which means her talent was recognized by the industry early on. That is the kind of foundation not every film actor has. But her path in Hollywood did not go in that smooth, upward line people would hope for. Three's Company is probably the clearest example. She stepped into a hit sitcom, got attention, but that period turned into more of a struggle than a true breakthrough. Even so, Anne kept going, still leaving her mark in both television and film, in the way serious actors often do, quieter than they deserve to be remembered. And maybe that is why when people look back at her now, what stays is not noise, but a sense of regret. Regret that a talent like hers should have had an easier path. Number 12. Jonathan Ward, Jonathan Eatenton. This is the kind of story I love most in videos like this. A young face in an old movie you think he faded into memory. Then, years later, he shows up somewhere nobody could have predicted. Jonathan Ward was born in 1970. When Steel Magnolias came out in 1989, he was 19. This year, he is 56. In the film, he plays Jonathan Eatenton, the youngest son in the family. Not a big role, no emotional explosion scenes that would make the audience remember his name right away. And maybe that is exactly why what came after is so interesting. After a few years as a young actor from Mac and Me to Fern Gully and then Steel Magnolias, Jonathan did not continue down the Hollywood path people assumed he would take. He left acting and moved fully into the world of classic cars, industrial design, and American custom car culture. Put simply, he traded the spotlight for steel machines and oil. And the interesting part is this was not some backup plan just to get by. Jonathan Ward actually built a real name for himself. On the official site of Icon 4x4, he explained that the idea for Icon came from seeing the collector car market going in the wrong direction and deciding to build things his own way. And the company bio also notes that he and his wife Jamie co-founded Icon in 2007. That is a very American kind of turn, bold, risky, and honestly pretty satisfying. Number 13. Carol Sutton, Nurse Pam. Some faces do not enter a movie to take the spotlight. They come in to make the world feel real. Carol Sutton is that kind of presence. She was born in 1944. When Steel Magnolias came out in 1989, she was 45. Carol passed away in 2020 at the age of 76. In the film, she plays Nurse Pam, a very small role, easy to miss if you are focused on the big stars at the center. But American film, especially Southern stories, lives because of people like Carol Sutton. What I appreciate about Carol is not fame, it is durability. She was a veteran of New Orleans theater and screen part of that group of actors who quietly work for decades without needing noise to prove themselves. This is the kind of artist who does not rely on one iconic role, but on always showing up, always steady, always bringing a sense of real life into every frame. Honestly, Hollywood likes to tell stories about the people in the center of the poster, but America's film memory is held together just as much by the quieter faces like Carol Sutton. And maybe that is why her story hits in such a sad way. Carol Sutton passed away from COVID-19 complications in 2020 during a time when the whole world was struggling through the pandemic. And after that quiet note, the next name brings us back to another kind of endurance, this time from a supporting actor Hollywood kept around for a very long time. Number 14. Kevin J. O'Connor, Sammy Desoto. Kevin J. O'Connor was born in 1963. When Steel Magnolias came out in 1989, he was 26. This year, he is 63. Kevin is the kind of face movie lovers all have the same reaction to. You see him and immediately think, I know this guy, I have just seen him in so many good places. In Steel Magnolias, he plays Sammy Desoto, not a central role, not the kind of part that takes over the whole frame. What I like about Kevin J. O'Connor is that he never chased the movie star path. He chose something harder and more lasting, becoming a true character actor. After Steel Magnolias, he just kept going, showing up again and again in Hollywood, from The Mummy to Van Helsing, then There Will Be Blood. That is the kind of career that does not need the biggest poster or tabloid attention, but directors and audiences remember him because he always brings something unique into every scene. Looking back now, Kevin is not the loudest name on this list, but he is the kind of presence that makes Hollywood stronger just by still being there. And after someone with that kind of staying power, the final name on this list is a woman who makes a lot of viewers say something very familiar, "Oh, that is her," and then right after that comes a quiet, delayed sadness. Number 15. Bibi Besh Belle Marmillion. Some faces do not need a long introduction. They show up and memory opens on its own. Bibi Besh is one of those faces. She was born in 1940. When Steel Magnolias came out in 1989, she was 49. Bibi passed away in 1996 at the age of 56. In the film, she plays Belle Marmillion, not a big role, not the kind of character written to hold the center of the story. What makes Bibi Besh memorable is not noise. It is the fact that she was the kind of actress people recognized before they could even recall her name. Star Trek, 2 American television, strong supporting roles, and 2 Emmy nominations. All of that shows she was not just someone passing through Hollywood. She was part of it. At the time of her passing, she was even mentioned as a member of the SAG board, which says her place in the industry was not small at all. And maybe that is exactly why her story feels sadder than expected. She passed away from cancer in 1996, too early, too quietly, like a door closing, before people even realized how familiar her face had become. Maybe that is both the most beautiful and the saddest thing about Steel Magnolias. So, that is 15 faces from Steel Magnolias. And what hits me most is not just how they have changed over the years, but how time kept writing each of their lives in completely different ways. Some became legends. Some took the long road quietly. Some stepped into completely different worlds. And some have left this life. But every time we look back, they still bring an entire era of old Hollywood back to life right in front of us. Out of these 15 stories, which face moved you the most when you look back today? If Steel Magnolias connects to a memory of yours, share it in the comments. And do not forget to subscribe so we can keep building a space to remember the values of a golden era.